Hey guys, Dreadshells here, and welcome back to another video in World of Tanks. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit of a different format. I don't think I've ever done this before. Um, I was thinking the other day about how all the videos that I upload, how they're all just single games, and they're usually highlight games of either good play in general, or in some instances, some mistakes and some bad play that I've made. But I thought it would be maybe a good idea to show you guys a short play session of back-to-back games that I have, and just to give you guys a better idea of the context of the kind of maps that I get and the kind of matchmaking I get and the different kinds of challenges that I get overall in a play session. And that way you guys maybe can apply some of the techniques better to your games. So my first game that we're going to be looking at here is on Overlord, and due to it being a session video, I'm not going to be stopping and pausing and explaining my thought processes at every moment. I'm just going to let the battle play out, and then we're just going to jump into the next game and the next game. So I apologize if this kind of video length is maybe not suited to everyone's taste. But I thought I'd give this a try and see what you guys think. So let's just get started. So here we are on Overlord. Personally, I think that the best place you can go to in Overlord in a fast tank, in a scout or medium or whatever, is this middle area here in like the 789 lines. If you are a fast tank, oh, sorry, T92. If you're a fast tank with some armor, you can zip over here to the 0 line. In my opinion, this side of the map, the east side of the map, the 6, 7, 8, 9 line, 0 lines are the most important part of the map. If your team controlled the angles and the positions on this map, you can easily win the game. We preloaded high explosive here because we anticipated from the matchmaking here that they have a lot of scouts. Oh, I wasn't watching where I was driving. Yeah, I was a little frustrated. So many tanks really close to me. But anyway, so yeah, there's a lot of scouts, a lot of tanks that have soft armor, and I just preloaded high explosive because this tank has really good high explosive shells. Good penetration, 75 penetration, I think, with 260 alpha. So you can do 500 damage plus to a softly armored tank if you pen both of your shots. And right now we're just playing the slow game. There are 2 artillery in the game here, so we need to keep mindful of that. And we're trying to see if we can feather a shot in there in the CDC. And didn't look like we can quite get it. Nope, he's behind the rock there. So we're just kind of waiting for a shot here. And the STA that was sitting next to me got spotted when he was peeking over the ridge, and the arty shot him, and I received a little bit of a splash damage there. Luckily, this CDC here is a really nice softly armored tank. As long as you can get the side of the turret, the front of the turret might be a little bit more difficult to pen, depending on how you hit the gun mantlet or something like that. You probably won't pen. So we get 2 nice shots into him. And we're just playing the slow game here. Generally, this is a good idea for you to do in any game that you play. You really don't want to rush to any particular position unless it's a little bit of a more open map like Steppes or Malinovka or maybe Prokhorovka, those kind of maps. In these kind of intermediate style maps, you kind of want to kind of put your positioning a little bit more conservatively. So right now, the reason that I'm shifting over here to the 5-6 line is because if you look over on the mini map on the 9-0 lines, we don't really have anyone sitting up in F9 that can kind of block the enemy's advance, and I don't want to be the first tank that the enemies see as they come around that corner, right? Because there's no way I can hold their push. So rather than maybe getting a couple shots of damage in and then dying right away if they push around the corner, I decide to see if I can get some vision maybe in the middle, or see if I can. I was about to actually start shooting this Type 59 from behind, and I was just hoping that no one here was in the middle. That's a bad policy playing a scout. You never want to just roll the dice and hope that no one's there. You should always check before you progress to a certain position. So luckily, the T-28 Prot actually did not spot me. So he was I think from how he was sitting there in the rock there that the side of his track was there, but his turret was behind the rock, so I think that's why he didn't see me. So now we are doing something that I never, ever, ever do on Overlord, and this is pushing beach. And this is kind of a delayed push. The game's been going on for a couple minutes here. So we move up as close as we can to this little ridge here before we cross over. This is to prevent the enemy from knowing that I'm coming until I'm as close to them as possible. Then I can get a high traverse rate. We take over and we focus the UDES first because he's the easier tank to kill, making some driving errors here, driving into the tank traps. We're trying to avoid the Scorpion here is peeking over to shoot at us because we got spotted here. And luckily he misses there. Unfortunately, neither of us are high explosive shells pen. Mainly because I was shooting into the angled side of him, which has some spaced armor, and the shots weren't going high enough to hit him and the turret and that stuff. I could have aimed a little bit more carefully, but I was just focused on avoiding taking a shot of damage from him. So I just auto-aimed on him. And so now, because of that, we got the UDES and the Object 704 taken out on the enemy team, and the enemy team is pushing through the zero line. As you can see on the minimap there, they have successfully pushed further into the zero line, and I would be dead right now if I had stayed in my previous position, so this is why I relocated. So we're picking up here to see if we can get some rear shots into the Scorpion. We have high explosive loaded, and he's actually moving up a little bit, which is a little weird. I guess he's decided that he was going to try and shoot our Patton as he was coming up the trough there. But we get him spotted there, and we get him low enough HP that anyone on our team can easily one-shot him there. This is a little bit of a mistake. I was still kind of spotted here. Not the shot I was going for there. I wasn't really trying to track him. I was hoping just to pen the back of him with just one shot. As the back of American tank destroyers and even heavies and mediums have pretty soft armor, and you can pen them easily with high explosive. And we reloaded high explosive here to guarantee us to two-shot the M53-55, but it doesn't really matter because someone else on our team shot him once, so we can take him out with the next shot there. Go for a reload here. I probably should have looked to see before I reloaded if I could have shot that guy in the back there, that STR-VS1. And right now I'm just staying low because I'm not sure if the AMX M451 is decided to come back yet or not. He hasn't been spotted a lot the whole game. Well, not the whole game, but he hasn't been spotted in quite a while, so I'm thinking that he might be a little bit further back. And unfortunately, he did come back. So now I have to... I actually have all the time in the world now. Now that he's fired, and I can traverse around artillery to keep the artillery from shooting at me. Not sure why the AMX is taking that shot. There was a building there. So now that he's fired, we're going to push up around him there. Maybe should have gone around the left side of the building so he wouldn't have had as much time to fire. He misses another shot. I make a misplay right here. I get myself trapped between him and the building here, and because I'm a wheeled vehicle, I cannot traverse with stationarily, right? I have to be driving forward or backward to be able to traverse because I'm a wheeled vehicle. So if the AMX had played this correctly, he could have actually easily trapped me back in between the building and himself and had a much easier time. And luckily he missed a lot of his shots there. So we have two reasons why we should have died there a lot earlier. And now it's just the final tank, the enemy T-54 Mod 1 here over in the south, engaging the Conway and the Emil. So basically, yeah, our strategy was don't play too aggressively because there's a lot of mobile tanks on the enemy team. Just play the slow game at first until enough of the enemy dies, and then we can start being a little bit more aggressive depending on where we think we have an overmatch in a certain flank on the map. So that was the Overlord game that I had. Let's move on to the next one. Alright, so here is our second game that we had in the EBR play session. This time we're on Murovanka Encounter. and let's just start the battle here. And looking at the team compositions, and just to give an idea of our anticipated role in the battle, since we're top tier, we have a high obligation not only to do a vision roll for our team, but also a high obligation to do more direct damage for us to help our team win the game, right? So even though we are top tier and we have a high impact on the battle here potentially, we still need to play very conservatively, right? Because there's 3 enemy scouts and there's a lot of mobility on the enemy team. With the SU-130 is a pretty mobile tank destroyer. They have some mediums that are pretty mobile. So there's most of the tanks on the enemy team are pretty mobile, with the exception of a few. So this is why I'm playing this more conservative position here. There's a reason that I did not go to the mid-ridge over there in E7, and that's mainly because I didn't really feel like dogfighting with multiple tanks there. And unfortunately, our EBR Hotch died there. He didn't get enough support there from the teammates in the back, and he just got isolated, unfortunately. So we get this this M4 E8 spotted over here, and I could have shot him in the side there, had high explosive loaded. Unfortunately, some really bad timing here, as I decided that maybe I wanted to push him. He decided to peek over the west side of the church, and I was thinking that potentially that he was going to be looking over the other side of the church, right? So my thought process was, if I push in while he's still looking to the east, I can get some free high explosive shots into the back of his tank, right? But unfortunately, he was looking my way, so I decided to not take that engagement. And right now, I'm deciding how I want to engage this. I see that the 2 enemy scouts are crossing over here. Initially, of course, I was thinking about engaging the E8, but I abort that, and I decide to engage the enemy scouts here. Really poor decision here to lose a lot of my HP just to take out their enemy scout, who was already almost a one-shot. I could have stopped and taken a lot less damage, and I think I still had another shell left in my clips. So that was a really poor engagement. And on my part, I should have played that a lot better. And it was definitely not worth it for me to lose all that HP. You always want to be taking enemy guns out of the fight, but not like that. You want to make better trades than that. So now we're searching for a side shot here on the M4. Still not very good at finding the gaps and the openings in this all the buildings in the middle part of Murovanka here. Some poor management of my ammo types that I have loaded here. I should have had APCR preloaded here for the E8, and he would have been dead already. So that was a misplay on my part as well. Still can't believe that Artie's trying to shoot me of all tanks. I'm one of the most mobile tanks. And we missed one shot, but we get the second, and we take his gun out of the fight. So now we're starting to be able to play a little bit more aggressively, right? So this is the kinds of moments in battle where I'm describing, where when more enemy tanks have been destroyed and the enemy scouts in particular are destroyed, then you can start being a little bit more free to stretch your legs and move around the battlefield more freely. Some poor situational awareness here, not noticing that the T-3485M to the north here on my right. But I'm just tunnel visioning way too much here. I'm trying to get some reset shots here on the cap circle, encounter cap circle. Really cheeky shot there. I looped the shell over the top of the enemy ONE to take out the 45 TP. Take a quick look-see over there to see if the SU-130 has direct line of sight on me, and he didn't, so we were safe to stop and look at the cap circle a little bit longer there. Decide to move up under the ridgeline here to see if I can get some shots into the cap circle from a slightly different angle. I should have been a little bit better here with my ammo management once again. Just some... I preload high explosive. I decided too often in this tank. It's really good to have it preloaded early in a battle as a general rule, depending on what the enemy tanks are. But I decided that I should be a little bit better at managing my ammo type as the battle progresses, right? You're a little bit more free and flexible to reload. This tank has a really quick reload, so there's no reason why you shouldn't be reloading the appropriate ammo type. So luckily one already misses me. I missed one shot, so I am not unable to take out the M44. Kind of worried that he was going to snapshot me as he turned around to traverse me, but my teammates take him out. We take out the other artillery here. And once again, poor management of ammo here. I could have done damage here. But luckily the SU misses me here, and our team take him out. So I would say that I did not play this game incredibly well. The main thing that I did not do well in this particular battle was ammo management. And I should learn better when to load APCR and high explosive, and in some situations heat, of course, for higher penetration. So enough of that. Let's jump into the next battle. Alright, so this is the third battle in my play session in the EBR. This time we are on mines. Unfortunately, we are bottom tier in a very small close range brawl map, so this really limits our options on where we can go at the beginning of a battle. Basically you have two options in a scout tank from the north spawn. Either you can go to the hill, rush the hill, dogfight it out with the other mobile enemy mediums and scouts, or you can go over here to the one line. And taking a quick look at the team listings here, they have way more higher tier mediums, and they have more firepower that can get to the hill quickly than we do. So I've already decided that I'm going to go one line. You can see here in chat that the Wheezy 132-1, the top tier scout on my team, is saying he's going to the hill and he wants support. That would be great if we had enough tanks that we could at least have an even fight up there, but we don't have enough tanks to have an even fight up there, potentially. So I decided I'm going over here to the one line. And I think I was on half speed there. There we go. So one of the things that you can do when you go over here to the one line early is you can spot enemy tanks that are crossing early over there from the south spawn into the K1, J1 area. I do not have as good a view range as I do in other scouts, so I decided that I talked about in one of my previous EBR videos about how you guys should be learning how to shift in and out of the turbo mode. Another important aspect of that is when you're about to drive into a certain position, like that I was into that bush. I disengage my turbo mode so I wouldn't drive past the bush, and I could drive more into it precisely. So that's a small example of what I mean by that. And now the main reason that I'm going back up here to the hill is because the enemy team has only committed 2 tanks up here. And yeah, the PTA is up here, but he didn't know I was coming until I was already past the gap. I'm going for the AMX 13105 here first because he's the more dangerous target. Unfortunately, take a shot of damage from the 105 there, but we take his gun out of the fight. A valuable tank to take out there. And luckily, we set the enemy EBR on fire there. Otherwise, he could have potentially easily killed us here with his next clip because he was about to reload in a few seconds. So right now, I'm just trying to weave and dodge and everything, so it makes it harder for enemy artillery to shoot me. And for some reason, our Wheezy 132 decided that it would be a good idea to peek over the top of the ridge while he was still spotted. I should not have typed that in chat. I was being a poor sport. I should not have been calling anybody any names or anything. This is a bad habit that I have in games sometimes. I let my emotions get the better of me. Right now I'm trying to get my team to move from their camping location. So yeah, we have a lot of tank destroyers on our team, but that's no reason why certain ones shouldn't be moving up more. Like, you really need to be able to be more flexible in your tanks. I don't blame them, I guess, in a certain sense of them wanting to not wanting to get artied, but you need to be willing to control more of the map than this. We literally control only about less than 25% of the map here, so it's going to be really easy for the enemy team to encapsulate us and surround us and just not even outplay us by I was giggling. I was giggling so much. I burst out laughing when this happened. I was like, French tires are OP. Please nerf. And in a certain sense, I think they are. I think Wargaming needs to look into how the spaced armor mechanic is working for these tires on these new French wheeled vehicle lights, because that is ridiculous that I got shot by 183 there and took no damage, and the tire just ate the entire shell. So I did, that should not happen. Trying to get a shot here on the 53 TP from behind, but unfortunately the Pantera wreck up here is blocking me from getting just far enough ahead. The battle's not looking very good because the enemy team, like I said, once again, has so much map control. Decide to I have poor driving here. Decide to try and shift back here to the north side of the hill to see if I can get some shots here on the Scorpion, who's pushed up and is shooting our VK 100 101P in the side here. So I'm trying to help him out. Can't find the right angle here to see if I, because he's sitting right behind the house here. There we go. Now we have a shot on his hull there. Decide to go for another reload there. I was a little curious about what spotted me there. I wasn't sure. Maybe there's a gap in the building there. That's probably, there's like maybe a little window there, and the Scorpion was able to see me through that probably. There we go. We get the side threat taken out momentarily for the VK there. But there's just no way that we can win the battle if our team is not willing to at least sit in certain positions. It made it really easy. I was going to pump a couple of high explosive rounds into the RHM Borsig there, but our T95 took him out of the fight, and so rather than just waste my reload by reloading, I decided to just pump a couple shells into the side of the IS-3. And I should have gone for the lower plate there, the PTA. That was a misplay on my shot, but and once again, bad sportsmanship in chat by me. And I was thinking about making a video just on this particular, but I'm going to address it now. If you guys run into me in pub matches or whatever, and you see me behaving like this, hold me accountable, please, if I'm raging in chat or whatever. I want to try to become a better person, I guess, for lack of a better way of saying it. I want to figure out how to be nicer. So if you guys see that behavior from me in chat or whatever, just hold me accountable. Say, hey, there's no reason to act like that, and we can all be nicer to each other. So thanks, guys, for watching this third game. Let's move on to the next one. All right, so here we are with our fourth game in the play session in the EBR. This time we're on Minsk, and we are bottom tier, technically. Even though this is a tier 9 game, we're still bottom tier. This is a 5-10 matchmaking setup. There is 2 artillery on each team. There's a lot of tank destroyers on each team, and there's a couple scouts on each team. Yep, each team has a couple scouts. So there's not quite as much mobility on each team as far as having to worry about conservative positioning early in the game, but because of the map here, I still have to play really conservatively. Minsk is a really, really hard map to play well on in a scout. You don't have very many options at all in where you can go at the beginning of a battle. A lot of people surf this mid-ridge, and you can do that. I won't say that that's a bad idea, because you don't really have a ton of other options. But the main reason that I don't like this map is how the elevation angles work. I don't like how all the edges of the map are high and everything slopes down into the middle. Obviously, it's a river. Logically, that would make sense. But from a tactical map design point of view, this is really bad because it basically makes a lot of the area of the map unplayable when there's very little cover in this middle area, because all that enemy tanks have to do, or tanks on either team have to do, is they just sit on the edges of the map, and whichever tanks push first will get wrecked, and then you can counter push and win the game. So I would highly recommend, when you play Minsk in any tank, the best philosophy I think in winning this map is don't be the first tank to push. There we go. We were on half speed again. So I don't activate my turbo mode right away here because I know I have some sharp turns that I'm going to be making here. And then I engage it right there. Maybe I could have, but I'm not good enough in driving in turbo mode yet to be that precise with my driving, so I'd rather take the corners a little bit more carefully. Our thought here is that we're going to zoom up here to like E2 and F2 and see what tanks the enemy team are sending over here to the west side of the map, but I can't do that because the enemy scouts went to the middle and they easily spotted me there, the EVA 90 and the T-54 lightweight. This is a position that I have never gone to early in a game. This is the backside of the enemy building formation over here on the one line. I might do this more often if I have enough support from teammates over here, and I'm maybe in a medium or something, or a fast enough heavy. I think this could be a really, really good meta position. Bad second shot there on the even 90. Oh, and really bad to stop out there in the open by me. Worried that there's going to be some enemy tanks there crossing in the street. But I didn't see anyone there, so I'm coming back here to see if I can take back that position right there. And then I see the SU-101 is moving up there on the mid-street. And right now I have to just hide behind the building here. Now I've trapped myself, basically, right? This is a big no-no to do in the EBRs. You don't stay stationary. And I was letting that CDC shoot me for free, basically, because I'm wanting my team to move up a little bit more, but to be fair, I'm not anticipating how mobile they are. I thought they could have gotten there a little faster, but their tanks aren't quite that fast enough. The reason I'm retreating so fast here is because this T-54 lightweight wants to kill me really, really badly for some reason. He just went total ham on me. So I'm dodging and weaving, using these little hills as cover here. And I wasn't anticipating that my first shot wouldn't pen him, and my second shot missed him entirely, but our bulldog on our team takes him out. And the enemy EVA 90 is taken out. So now that a couple tanks that were in the middle for the enemy team are dead, now we're a little bit more free to move around here. But not really, because this is another reason I don't like this map, is because enemy tanks that can sit here in H5 right here, and they have a lot of bushes and it's impossible to spot them, but they can spot you really easily. And I think that's poor design in maps in general, is that you shouldn't have positions designed to where the enemy has soft cover and they can spot you, but you don't have a soft cover option to spot them if they fire, basically. That you should be able to spot each other evenly, is, I guess, is my point. But our team looked to be doing pretty well over here in the west side of the map. They're holding their own, the 50 TP and the T30. And I decide, what the heck, I'm bored. I'm going to go completely ham. This is actually something I would not recommend doing in this kind of a stage of a battle on this map, but I decided that I was really bored. I don't want to be sitting here being useless to my team, so I'm gonna risk dying here so I can actually try and do something. And for some reason, the enemy Scorpion is not paying attention to me. Disengaged the turbo mode for a split second there so I could take a sharper turn to avoid his gun traverse. And he actually had traversed around me enough to where he was able to shoot me. He just missed his shot for some reason. And we pump another couple of HE shells into him there, and the Bulldog on our team takes him out again. Unfortunately, both of our shots missed the Scorpion there. Trying to out-traverse him here, make it harder for him to shoot. And we do. And now that we know that he's just fired, we're going to move up here and get a high explosive shell into him. And we're not going to hang around because all the enemy heavies there that are sitting in their building formation over there in the 8-9 lines, they can shoot me easily. So I'm not going to try and engage the Scorpion there. I was about to drive into the wreck, so I disengaged turbo mode and re-engage it here. I'm honestly not sure if I'm still spotted or not. I'm still getting used to the distances from what these tanks can get spotted or not get spotted. So I was a little worried that I was still spotted here, but I guess I'm not. So, and then we spot enemy artillery there. We aim for his turret there. Unfortunately, the shot goes a little bit left and it hits the car, so we're not able to take him out with our clip. But our friendly artillery takes out their artillery. And now this is a situation where you basically have to find the weaker side of the enemy deployment and try to take it out first, right? So I'm going over here. There's only two tanks, or there was only two tanks over here with the SU-101 and the Wheezy-111. And the T-30 needs help engaging both of them. There was only two enemy tanks over here, but as opposed to the 5+ over on the enemy side, the other side of the map. So this is the easier side of the map to clear from enemies, right? This is the kind of strategy you want to do. You want to take out the weaker enemy formation first. So right now I'm just using these wrecks as cover, so you can't shoot me. And I'm content. I don't have to try and shoot him. I can wait for my teammate T-30 to come around and shoot him. That's fine. I don't have to get more damage or kill. And now we see on the minimap there that the enemy heavies are starting to cross over there on the other side of the map. I'm trying to get into draw range soon enough so I can shoot this AMX 65, but unfortunately we don't. There's a little building in E7 that actually blocks your part of your line of fire. There you can see it on sniper view there, from the middle of the map into the east side of the map there. So you still can shoot it pretty easily. You just have to be willing to relocate just a little bit so you can get a line of sight. Unfortunately, didn't aim that second shot very well, and it went high and clipped the upper part of his hull at an extreme angle. I'm never going to pin his hull there, so I go for the side of his turret there. Not worth taking that second shot. Never pinned once he turned his turret a little bit more towards me. And now I'm deciding, well, maybe I should relocate again and move around behind the enemy formation here. Look at all the map control we have. Even though the match is even, right, in tanks more or less, we have a ton of map control, so we have the multiple angles of attack. This is what you're trying to shoot for in situations. The result that you're looking for when you're fighting a battle. Find the enemy's weakest positions and take them out so you can slowly start encapsulating them, because the more angles of fire you can have on them and the less that they have, the easier it is for you to shoot them in the side and they can't react soon enough. So, but their enemy heavies are really low HP, so it's not like this is a real close game, even though it was in tanks. We have high explosives still loaded because we're anticipating that we're going to be engaging the Scorpion here. I'm pretty confident that the game is a win now, so I'm willing to take a shot from the Scorpion just to engage him here. Not really a good trade, to be honest. He shoots me for 500, I shoot him for 500. That's not really a good trade. And really, I was hoping I would get around the corner before he reloaded, and I did. Wasn't sure. I'm not sure what the reload is on the Scorpion, to be honest. Maybe one of you guys can let me know in chat. But we were able to get around the corner there. And honestly, I should probably be doubling back here because the Scorpion's probably going to be anticipating that I'm going to be coming from this side here. But I decide, basically I'm too lazy to drive around the other side of the map again, so I decide, oh, let's risk it, hold our breath, clench our butt, and hopefully he'll miss. And he didn't even react in time. So I had APCR loaded there because he was a one-shot for my APCR, and there's no reason to have high explosive loaded when you would risk the shot not pending going into the tracks, and then he would have time to react and shoot me. So anyway, let's move on to the next game in my play session. All right, so here we are in our fifth game of our play session in the EBR. This time we're on Tundra. It is another 5-10 matchmaking setup where the 10 tanks are tier 8s and the 5 tanks are tier 9s. So we're bottom tier, quote unquote. And once again, we're really limited on our early positioning choices. Tundra is one of these maps that I really despise because it basically forces you to engage the enemy at point blank uh, from the front without any really alternative. And it isn't until the late game where you actually start having more options to play your scout or any fast tank to its strengths. And usually lots of people in their fast tanks rush to the hill over there in the 9-0 lines. This, I think, is probably one of the most strategically important areas to win in the map, but it doesn't mean that you automatically win the map necessarily. But usually it gives you a really good chance to win if you win the hill. Unfortunately, I just didn't feel like rushing up to the hill and dying in the first 30 seconds because I wasn't sure how many tanks that the enemy are going to send there. This is another bad thing about this map. It doesn't allow you to get line of sight in certain areas of the map to see where the enemy is going, right? You can't make intelligent plays. You can't, because you don't know which enemy tanks are going where and where you should be going. By the time you spot the enemy, they're right on top of you. So this is another reason why I don't like this map and the map design of Tundra. So right now we're just kind of waiting. Um, Purely a reactive. It's a reactive type of a map. If you're playing a tank that doesn't have any armor, you basically have to wait for the enemy to make overcommitments in certain areas of the map, and shoot them and help support your teammates that do have armor. We notice here that our LTTB is getting shot from the hill. I think it might have been the 1390 or it might have been another tank, but I was checking to see if I had a shot on the 1390, but I don't. A little bit dangerous here, sitting in the middle of the map as someone who's sitting on the rail bridge there on the other side could easily spot me if they cross. And I can't really do anything. This is the thing that I don't like about this map. You basically just sit here waiting for tanks to die before you are able to do anything. So the enemy EBR decides to push in on our 50 more wad one, and now we can actually do something here. We get a couple of shots into him here. I think I took out his tire with my second shell there. And unfortunately, I think enemy artillery shot our ISU, and then the enemy EBR was able to take our ISU out. Unfortunately, I was trying to drive back into cover there behind the building, and I ran into the 54 mod 1, so that was some bad driving on my part. The enemy team are making a really aggressive push there over on the one line, and as well they should. They have a really big overmatch. It was just our type 4 heavy there and the super pushing. Now going for a one shot here. Basically the enemy have control over the entire map. And I don't know where our tanks are, like where they were before they died. We have a lot of tank destroyers up over there in A0, but the enemy have so many tanks on the important areas of the map, and we did not deploy very well at all. So, and now my thought is I'm just going for artillery. Obviously, one artillery is paying attention because a shell came in there after I killed the enemy EBR. Unfortunately, missed the snapshot there. Shouldn't have auto aimed there as he was going behind cover. So the bat chat already is taken out there, and now I'm thinking the game's lost. I don't really care if I die here. I want to take out enemy artillery because artillery is terrible for the game. Waiting for all the comments to come in on the video about that one. I'm willing to have a discussion, absolutely, about that particular point, because I'm pretty confident I can defend that very well. Anyway, so we see that the enemy AMX 1390 is coming back to engage us here, so we decide to run away, live a little bit longer, helping our T-54 Mod 1 engage this Kanonen Jagdpanzer 105. Get another tank taken out, and even though the score is 7-8, this is a guaranteed loss basically, because they all, sorry for the stuttering here, but basically because our formations here are all isolated, right? It's just me and the 54 mod 1 right here, and then all the rest of our tanks are all in one corner of the map. So the enemy have really good positions to engage us. Driving up here, the zero line, it's kind of risky doing this without knowing for sure where the enemy is, but I don't really have any option of pre-scouting an area before I go around the corner, right? Just because of the map design. Some poor map knowledge there. I should have known that there was a hill there, and I wouldn't have had a shot on the 40 anyway. We have some rear shots here on the tortoise, and we go ahead and take it. We use the bush cover so we don't get spotted initially. Waiting to see if I would get another clip in here, but we saw that he started to turn. And right now, I probably could have gone back here to help the T-54 Mod 1. Maybe I should have. I'm looking at this in hindsight now. That's probably a misplay that I made there. I should have turned around and been able to help him there with the Samoa SM. The tortoise spots us here crossing in the corner, so we do not have the element of surprise here. The enemy knows that I'm here. And right now I'm pausing here a little bit just in case the Ferdinand has turned around and is ready to engage us. And now it's actually looking like we might have a chance of winning here, but still it doesn't look good from the map control point of view, right? They have way too many of us isolated from one another, and they have a lot more hit points left than we do. So I'm trying to support these tank destroyers over here in like A0 as much as I can, trying to take out this Ferdinand, but we're just not being able to kill the enemy tanks quickly enough before they're killing us, right? So it was a misplay there. I thought there was a line of cover there, but it's just the bush, so that I basically gave the tortoise an easy shot there. And we reload a high explosives clip here because we know that we're going to be engaging the 1390. This is something that you can do in this tank. You can reload shells quite quickly. Unfortunately, we weren't able to pen our second shot there on the 1390 because it went low into the tracks, and I was being lazy and I auto-aimed, and then the enemy tortoise takes me out. So basically, this was a really hard battle for us to influence to win just because of the map design. I did make some misplays about some timing on when I could have been supporting certain teammates, but for the most part, I didn't have a lot of options. So you have to just do your best and play more reactively than proactively on a map like this, and whatever happens, happens. Let's move on to the next game. Alright, so here we are on Fisherman's Bay, and this is the next game that we had in the EBR. This is I think this is a 357 matchmaking. Yeah, 357 matchmaking, and we are bottom tier. There's 3 artillery on each side. There's a kind of an even distribution of tank roles. There's some armor, there's some mobility, there's some firepower, there's some camera rating and vision. So this is a pretty good matchup as far as even distribution of tank roles, except for artillery. I think there's way too many artillery in this game. But Fisherman's Bay is a really good map for scouts. You have tricky moments playing kind of in the middle I don't really recommend going over here. I'll just start the battle here so I don't start rambling too long. I don't really recommend going over to E6 anymore, unless it's maybe later on in the battle, because that meta has sunk in too much. And basically what I mean by that is everybody goes there now in their fast mediums and lights. So and you there's a really high risk that you'll get spotted and you'll die really early in the game. So I kind of play over here on this west side of the map more from the north spawn early in the game, especially when I'm bottom tier. Maybe if I'm higher tier, I'm willing to sit more in the middle and be willing to risk getting shot in order to get some vision and to trade fire with enemies. But definitely when bottom tier, you want to take a much safer position. We get the RU-251 spotted early crossing there, but unfortunately, there's only one tank destroyer behind us that will be able to shoot them, and he's not quite in position yet just because of his mobility, and that's the Wheezy 111 behind me. The other reason why I don't like having a lot of artillery in matchmaking is because look at what it does to the limiting your deployment. We do have an AFK RU-251, but when you have lots of artillery on each team, they sit in the back, right? Because they're indirect fire. So this means that you have less tanks in direct positions on flanks to cover flanks. So this means that flanks fall faster, and flanks will fall faster even more so when there's artillery from indirect fire. So this is it's like a double whammy, right? So the RU is pushing up over. I honestly was not aware of which direction my tank was facing. And once again, French tires are OP. For some weird reason, I got shot by the 53 TP there, and I took no damage because tires. So yeah, so that was a bad misplay on my part. I thought I was actually facing backwards. You can really, really lose track of which way your tank is facing in this tank with the EBR 75 FL10. Because both ends basically look the same, and you can drive just as fast one way as the other, basically. So right now that our position is compromised, we can't go back there anymore. Some really lucky timing there. I'm crossing over here just as the enemy T-49 was about to push into our FE 4005. And just as we reloaded there, the FE 4005 takes him out. And now he needs our help because the Progetta knew that he was reloading, that our FE was reloading, right? So he decided to push in and engage and shoot him. He way overcommitted, and it made it really easy for our teammates to support him, and I wasn't even able to shoot him in time before the Progetta died. Trying to feather really thin shot over the ridgeline there at the enemy artillery. Our bat chat spotting them there. Our team did a really good job winning the city there. I think we had a pretty big overmatch over there. And now it's basically a cascade effect, right? When you're in this kind of a stage in a battle, you want to keep the cascade going, right? I don't want to way overcommit here by zooming all the way into the corner into like K2. I just want to drive until contact, basically. So I get the 53 TP spotted there. And unfortunately, because of the really poor view range, you have to drive a lot deeper into an area of the map before you start spotting enemy tanks here. There we go. We get the enemy artillery spotted there. Starting to get a cross angle, so it makes it harder for enemy tanks to shoot me here. By going full speed sideways to where they're looking. And the enemy TVT did a really good job there waiting for shots until I transitioned back into the opposite direction where I was going a little slower. So that was a really good play on his marksmanship there. But I'm just trying to keep the vision pressure up here and not... This is actually the bat chat spotting all these tanks, not me. The only tank that I might be spotting at all is the 53 TP up until now. And now I'm post-spotting these tanks with the bat chat here. And just keeping the pressure up, trying to end the battle as efficiently as possible here. Somehow we spot the T-28 Prot before the bat chat does. I think that's just because of how he angled into the bush there. And I'm like, oh wait, I'm one shot for the T-28 Prot. So now we're on 3 hit points. So 3 hit points is all you need as long as you're still alive, right? So trying to avoid getting shot here from the TVP. There's a little gap in the bunker there that he can shoot through, even though if he's not driving all the way around. So we drive around, and now we have back shots on this T10 here, who's engaging our Wheezy 111. And this has been a really quick, efficient game. Luckily, we were on the receiving end of the benefit and not the loss. It's no fun. Personally, I don't think these kind of games are fun either way, like lopsided wins or losses. I prefer games that are a little bit more progressive and deliberate. Maybe not slow, but people are a little bit more tactical. I don't really like snowball avalanche type games, right, where they're all one-sided. Either way, but yeah, so that was the game on Fisherman's Bay. We didn't really have a, even though we had a really good result, right? You see our stats here. This isn't really us winning the game for our team, right? Or having a high impact of winning the game. Other, basically, the rest of my team won the game kind of for me, and I just benefited and did my best to benefit from that and did what I did to contribute. I wasn't really a pacemaker in this game, so to say, right? But I did what I could to contribute. So enough of that. Let's move on to the next game that I had in my play session. All right, so here we are in the next game that I had in my EBR. This time we're on the Glacier map. It's kind of a weird matchmaking, what you would call this 4-11 matchmaking. There's 4 tier 9s and then the rest are tier 8s on each side, so kind of unusual. There's a lot of heavies on each side, and there's a decent amount of mobility. About, I'd say, a third of the enemy tanks are pretty mobile, or maybe slightly more. So moving up to the mid ridge here, we're not even gonna stop and take time for our second shot, right? Because we know that the enemies are going to be looking at us potentially, that we're going to be spotted as soon as they spot them. And there is an artillery in the game, right? So we need to be careful here. I pre-aiming this draw here just to see if the Pantera was going to drive up or any other tanks would drive up to this mid gap. It's not uncommon for enemy tanks to at the beginning of a game to rush into the middle here and drive up that draw there. But no one's driving up there right now. So right now, what I'm trying to do is just get this Wheezy re-proxy spotted again. And we actually spot another Scorpion over there that's sitting in the back there. So we got 2 for the price of 1 there. And our LT 432 is actually doing some really good spotting over there in the south flank. And I was taking notice of it a little later here and trying to figure out what position he's using. I have not used that position over there that he's using, so I might have to look later in the game to see now where he's sitting. I think there's a little pond over there with some trees around it, and maybe that's the position he's using. I might have to try that. But the 5100 is trying to climb up here. Unfortunately, I don't have high explosive loaded. I could easily pen the back of him with high explosive, but I didn't know that I was going to be shooting him, right? So just had normal ammo loaded here. We get another couple of shells into the Pantera, who also climbed up there into the midridge. We got a couple ticks of fire there before he puts it out, either with a really good fire crew or more likely a manual fire extinguisher. So right now, once again, we're playing the slow game, right? There's no reason for us to rush and be really aggressive anywhere. There's just too many tanks left in the game, and we would be exposing ourselves to too many lines of fire. So a really cheeky shot there on the move at range there. I'm trying to get, this is a little bit risky. I risk getting spotted there from my right, but I anticipated that the most of the enemy tanks would in the middle there would have like over in G3 would have been moved elsewhere by now. Kind of surprised that I got spotted there. I must have gotten spotted by, I'm not sure, maybe I was exposing myself to a tank maybe in J6 or something like that. And so we had to dodge and weave and avoid the rest of the fire from the Pantera there. And unfortunately, because we're at lower elevation here, it's a little bit trickier to find shots around these houses and shipwrecks here. And we see that the 5100 has moved back into the mid gap here to engage the STA. Of course, we get spotted there because we're so close to him, but we get his gun taken out of the fight there. Now we're dodging and weaving, so making it harder for the Pantera to hit us. And now I decide, now I am going to go full bore. Because the main reason I made this decision is I did a head count on the mini map, right? You need to do what I call quick counts. How many tanks are on each side of the map, right? And from that you can decide which tanks are isolated, and the Scorpion is more or less isolated. Although I spot a Cadarvan there that I didn't anticipate being here. And there we go. We get him taken out, and just like that, our just cascade effect happens. I'm not sure what was happening on other areas of the map, but it looks like our team are doing okay on both other sides of the flanks as well. Reload another high explosive, or had another HE clip loaded here, so we can use it on this HWK-30. Really lazy shot there. I should not have been auto aiming there at range. I need to get better at not being so lazy with my shots, and because of that we missed out on some damage there. And a really bad shot there. Desperate shot to try and get in before he gets killed. And really poor shot because I risked hitting my teammates, so that was a misplay right there. And now I'm coming in from a direction that I think the Carnarvon is not going to be looking, because, you know, he was looking to the south before. But unfortunately, he is looking this direction, so this is unfortunate. So now I'm reloading APCR here because there's no way in heck that I can pen him reliably unless I have steady shots on the back of him. And that is gonna kind of tricky when he's engaging us like this. So once again, French tires are OP. And he rushes his shot, so we're able to take our time with our second shot in our clip, and we get a little bit more damage. Do a really noob mistake here of forgetting that I had the Carnarvon still auto-aimed on. Otherwise, I could have shot the Artie there, but I was so focused on driving that I wasn't paying attention. So bad to auto-aim once again. And I didn't even bother taking the second shot because he was still angled, and my next shot would have bounced. So I just let my team kill him. So yeah, that was another fast game in the EBR 75 FL10. I personally think that Glacier is... Some people... I get really mixed feedback about this map. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people are indifferent. Personally, I think this map has more things going for it than it has flaws. I think the main thing about this map is they kind of need to rework this southeast corner area over here. I think they should lower the elevation a little bit or even it out, because it's a little bit hard to progress this area. Other than that, I think this map is pretty playable if you move artillery, because the middle is really difficult to play with artillery, a lot like Prokhorovka. But yeah, anyway, so I hope you guys enjoyed watching that game on Glacier. Let's move on to the next one. All right, so here we are in the next battle that we had in the EBR. I believe this is the 8th battle that I had in the play session, and we are on... I have such a hard time pronouncing this map. Studzianki or something like that. I think this is a Polish map. But anyway, this is a 15-15 matchmaking. All the tanks on each team are tier 8. There's no artillery. There's about an even distribution of mediums, tank destroyers, and light tanks. There's a few too many light tanks, I think, on each team. Maybe there should be 2 on each team, 3 max here. But it's okay, I guess. And because of this map, I am anticipating, because there's 4 scouts, that there's going to be some scouts rushing across the middle. So I'm going to be showing you guys The position that I usually go to over here from the west spawn on Studzianki. I think a lot of people like to rush over here to the very north into A5, A6. I don't think that's a very strong play because you can't really shoot anything, and it's really risky spotting from there because the opposing team will send tanks to the exact same area and you'll get proxied or whatever. So I really like to use this area over here in the D4, D5 borderline area. And you get really good vision usually on enemy tanks crossing. Unfortunately, the view range is so bad on the EBR 75 that you won't be able to spot anything except other enemy scouts that go to the middle. Normally, when you go here, if you look on the mini map, you'll be spotting enemy heavies and whatever's crossing over here into E8 and D8, but my view range just isn't good enough, unfortunately. But I don't really have a whole lot of other options than maybe going to the south flank, but and we even still spot one of the enemy heavies here. So I reverse here. I have high explosive loaded initially because I was anticipating shooting at enemy scouts, and because I knew that I probably wasn't going to be penning him. Random LTTB decides he wanted to go out of the trough and get into the factory area there. Anyway, going back here, I decided that I wanted to go for the track to the AMX here, right? To prevent him from being able to get into cover and to stop him and catch him out in the open. And my team are doing a really good job putting fire in there. Some really, really bad positioning there on my part. I shouldn't have stayed there with the LTTB being so close. I should have relocated to one of these more conservative positions back here in this trench. So that was a bad misplay on my part. And luckily, I only received minimal damage. And you're going to see some really bad marksmanship by myself here as I'm starting to shoot at this LTTB. Just had high explosive loaded was the first mistake. I'm never going to pen an LTTB with high explosive. And I try and shoot him there, and some really bad anticipation of where the posts are there in the factory area. It was partially obscured there by the tree, but that's no excuse. I should have been paying more attention to where the solid cover was in the factory area over here. But he dies anyway, so it's no harm, no foul. And now I'm starting to be a little bit more flexible here in the middle until this random lynx shows up. Fortunately, my shot goes a little low there, and my second shell on the lynx and misses. But he backs off. The enemy are starting to get more aggressive here on the southern flank here, engaging our Borsig and Wheezy 111 and even 90. And there's another heavy over here crossing really late. This is the Carnarvon. I think he was maybe just sitting up on their sniper ridge, like in maybe F8 or G8, and he wasn't getting any shots, so he decided to cross early. And then this T-28, don't ever do what this T-28 does in this stage of the battle. Never cross in on the inside of this building formation on the mini map here. This is why you should stay to the south side of these buildings, because you just get absolutely wrecked. I'm going to go into free camp. You just get absolutely wrecked by tanks that are sitting over here in the factory area. Never go where this T-28 is. So we're able to find a shot here on this AMX AC-48 through the gaps in the buildings here. And unfortunately, he reverses back into cover just as we reload here. Not finding the shot, so I decided I'm just going to try and knock the building down. But it might be, he might have been sitting behind an additional building there. And unfortunately, because of the timing, I wasn't patient enough, basically, so that was a misplay on my part. I just should have waited, and I would have gotten shots on him eventually. So he crossed in the time that I was reloading. Otherwise, I could have shot him there. So I reload high explosive here because I can actually easily pen the side and the rear of the AMX AC-48. And we held our shot there for a second because I didn't think that I was going to pen my high explosive shell with that angled side of the AC-48, so I took a little bit more time to aim more carefully at the square back. And unfortunately, we hit the little edge of the hitbox of the building rubble there, and it throws our tank up just a little bit, and our shell goes high, unfortunately. So that was a misplay there as well. But our Borsig takes him out. And unfortunately, the Lynx on the enemy team who was supporting the AC-48 has whittled us down to a one shot here. So, and our even 90 spots the Scorpion here, which is awesome because I can do a lot of damage to the Scorpion here with high explosive. So I reload high explosive here. First shell's good, and we think we hit him with our second one. He just went dark just as I fired my second shell. It looks like we actually missed him with our second shot. And now we're still playing the slow game here just because it's kind of difficult to progress through the south there. We don't have the armor to push here. We don't really have the hit points to do any aggressive movement here. So unfortunately the second shell goes high there and our first shell doesn't pen him. The UDES must have some decent spaced armor values for their tracks because I don't reliably pen the UDES from the side with the high explosive on this gun. So of course you can pen from the front and the rear, but it just must be the spaced armor of the tracks. Take a little bit better angle here, keeping buildings in between me and the looks so I don't get spotted until I'm in cover because I was driving in the open. And those enemy heavies have really good cover from the buildings and enemy tank wrecks there. Plus I would have a really hard time penning them anyway. Do a little peek there to see what I can see. Nothing spotted yet. Go. And we're trying to feather a shot here through the soft cover, going to third person to see if I can see where exactly they're sitting. Roll a little low there with our shot. Unfortunately don't take the IS-6 out with one shot, but our team take him out. Trying to feather a shot on the side of the turret of the KV-4, and then we see that the enemy UDES is moving up, so we decide, oh, what the heck, let's just go for it. The game's already won, of course. Let's get a little bit more damage in here before the game's over. So we get spotted, of course, here just because we're so close. Doesn't really matter. So we zoom in here. A really bad shot there. I need to work on my timing with my shots in this tank, just of when I'm going over terrain, because if you're going up and down over terrain, it really throws off your gun there. And unfortunately, we get taken out by the Lynx. And we just ping the mini-map just to let our team know where he's sitting. I'm actually anticipating that he's going to be driving north here. That's why I'm pinging a little bit further north. But he's still sitting in the buildings over here in D0. I'm not going to make you guys watch the rest of the replay. Our team eventually find him, and they take him out, and he was sitting back here. So let's just move on to the next game. Alright, so here we are in our 9th game, I believe, in this play session. This time we are on Karelia standard mode. And this is a 3-5-7 matchmaking, I believe. Yep, 3-5-7 matchmaking. We are bottom tier. So once again, whenever you're bottom tier, just be a little bit more conservative with your positioning, just because you can't fight your way out of a bad situation. You can't stand your ground against higher tier scouts or higher tier mediums. So you just, the lower the tier you are, usually the more vision type thing exclusively that you're doing, at least early in a battle. As the battle progresses, you can do more and more damage. So anyway, before I start rambling, let's just get going here. And the main reason that like I said at the start of this video, was that I'm showing you guys like a complete play session, is to give you guys a better idea of the context and the kinds of games that and matchmaking that I get. I'm not always top tier. I don't always have good maps, and it just kind of gives you a more complete view of the kind of gameplay that I get. So we zoom up here just because to see if they're to spot enemy. I'm going to go into third person view here. We zoom up here because this position is really good for spotting any enemy tanks that come in on this inside line to go up to the hill early. And there we go. We get the 430 spotted there. Some bad knowledge of the bush there. I stayed there initially because I thought the bush there covered my line of approach, but it's not quite tall enough, and there's a small gap in between that bush and the rock. So beware of that when you're using this side of the rock. Move back a little too early, in my opinion. I should have waited a little bit longer. And we spot the email 2 here, pushing up on the inside line. He's moving up to the inside of the hill way too late, in my opinion. And unfortunately, we cannot find a shot on this RU-251. He's sitting behind the rock there. I really want to pump some high explosive shells into him. And we're just waiting here. Not shooting yet, content just to keep this Emil spotted. The 1390 who was sitting over in D2 who was shooting him is reloading now, so he can't put any more fire to him, but our artillery shoot him once there. And I'm going to shoot this Emil 1 here just to keep him tracked, just so to make sure he isn't going to go anywhere. Move back into cover in the rock right away because we were pretty confident that that was going to get us spotted. And now we're just going to wait a little bit longer, I think. Yeah. Once again, trying to see if we can find a shot or vision on any scouts here. I don't play this position a ton since they remade Karelia, so I'm kind of relearning where the angles are and the bushes are. Do a little peek there to see if I get spotted, or see if I can spot the RU as well. And I'm gonna try and creep into this bush here to see if I can spot the RU. And unfortunately, I get spotted there. And an Object 268 that was sitting in the enemy base gets a shot in on us before we get back into cover on the rocks. So unfortunately, this is a very, very short game that I had, and it was completely deserved. I made a really bad misplay. Basically, I was exposing myself to getting spotted by anyone sitting over here by driving into this bush to try and spot these guys from stealth. I made the cardinal sin of dying early in a battle. In a scout, in this case a wheeled vehicle, and I also made the cardinal sin of a wheeled vehicle of staying stationary when you're in the open. This is a big no-no. Mobility is usually what keeps you alive in these tanks, and too often I try to spot with these wheeled vehicles like a traditional scout, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It doesn't work a lot of the time. For you just have really bad view range compared to a regular scout of your tier. So yeah, unfortunately I made a misplay there, and I was just too hungry to shoot this RU-251, and it got me killed. So this is what making a bad misplay early will do in a battle for you. So let's just move on to the next game that I had in the EBR. Alright, so here we are on Sand River, and this is the 10th and final game that I had in my play session in the EBR 785 FL10. So let's just get started. And we are bottom tier. As far as the team compositions go, there's a decent amount of top tier heavies, a couple of higher tier tank destroyers, a lot of lower tier tank destroyers, some artillery, and a couple of scouts on each team. So slower team composition on each side as far as tank roll is concerned. The only redeeming factor for us as far as trying to play the vision game is that there's no mid or high tier scouts, and that there's no top tier mediums either. So that's allows us to still try and play somewhat of a vision roll here. Our teammate EBR goes really aggressive there into the middle and spots a couple of their tank destroyers there. Stopping to see if I had a shot on the Scorpion, but I didn't. So we decided that we're going to move up here and try and respot him here, and we do. He's stunned because he took a little bit of damage from our artillery. And we get right back down here into the trough so we don't take any return fire. Not seeing a really good deployment from my team here, unfortunately. Unfortunately, the meta has changed and has changed for as far as team deployment is concerned on Sand River. It used to be that a lot more tanks went to the north side of the map, but since they've redesigned the middle area, a lot more tanks go to the middle area to brawl. And I guess that's fine, but I personally I don't like going to the middle area. Um, you're you're basically in a arty tunnel, and you just sit there and wait to get artied over and over again. Of course, that's technically that way in any part of the map. And speaking of artillery, yes, arty prevents camping for one of the foremost tanks on my team. And speaking of camping, unfortunately, we have a lot of our team sitting back here. I don't really blame them. They're bottom tier tank destroyers, but personally, I if you're a bottom tier and you have a scout down here and he hasn't spotted anything down here, you can at least move up to like J2, um, or potentially maybe J3, and you can shoot into the middle a lot easier, and you can support your vision tanks over here in the south a lot easier. So we're not seeing a really good team deployment. We only have a few tanks in the north, and they're already bracketed, right? We have no tanks over here in like D6, and the only all our tanks in the north are in like A6, A7, so they're gonna get pinzered really easily. And unfortunately, we get out. Like I said, even though we are the only scouts on either team are tier 8, some bad driving here, not paying attention to where the edge of the map is. But when you're bottom tier in a scout, and this happens a lot when you're bottom tier in the EBR, is that you are easily outspotted by just not even enemy scouts, but just by traditional tanks. So didn't really aim that shot very well, and I was really surprised that that hit the Scorpion. The shot didn't even look like it interacted with his hitbox, but must have been server lag or something. Once again, really bad driving, not paying attention to where the edge of the map is. And we are on 1 hit point, folks. So yeah, hey, hit point is all you need to still be in the game, but it's still not looking very good for us. Unfortunately, I don't have any shots on the E5 here. That's moving up. Although our team is putting some decent amount of fire into them. Fortunately, we aren't able to damage the T-44 there. And I'm just not able to do a lot for my team here just because so many of them are sitting so far back, and our team deployment is so concentrated into one area of the map. So I'm doing what I can here, but I could be making better plays, but yeah. So anyway, we still potentially have a chance of winning this game, but it's not looking very good. I decided here that I'm gonna push up to the south flank here because I think that now maybe there's not as many enemy tanks sitting here in this like K0 area, and I'm trying to search for a side shot here on this T-44 as my main goal, but I don't have the gun elevation to do it, unfortunately. Getting really close to the enemy base here, so I need to be careful. And there we go, the FE A183. And like I was saying, they spotted me at the same time I spotted them. So this is the kind of spotting that you should be expecting when you're bottom tier in this tank. It's really difficult to be outspotting enemies. Searching for shots, not finding any. There's a rock in the way there. Maybe I should be being more aggressive in the south area to put more side pressure on the snipers in the back, or at least keep them spotted for arty, right? But hindsight's always 20/20, right? Not really sure what I should be doing here, being really indecisive, and it's going to be come back and be a detriment to my team later. I probably could be going over and at least maybe helping the E3, maybe going over to E3 and see if I can spot any enemy tanks that are sitting in the middle, like in C6. Kind of risking of damaging myself and killing myself since I only have 1 HP there, but I decide that I'm kind of tired of sitting in the middle there and not doing anything, and see if I can respot the 30 or the 183 here. But just because of my poor view range, I'm not able to. So The Furdy is inside my view range circle, but I need him to fire or move. So I decide, hey, maybe I can move up a little bit further and put some more pressure on them from a side angle, and just a random who has been sitting here unspotted the whole. Luckily, I avoid his first shot there, and I make a really bad misplay here. Yeah, uh, I am definitely not doing the best here in this game. Basically, I re-engaged turbo mode to try and get around him before he reloaded, and I re-engaged turbo mode too quickly, and I didn't have enough driving room. Basically, when you engage turbo mode, your turning radius is not as sharp, and it takes longer to turn. And I should have waited until I had turned, but when I engaged turbo mode, I couldn't turn fast enough before I went off the cliff. So that was a really bad driving error on my part. And unfortunately, because of this misplay in me killing myself, we are not able to win the game. Our team actually managed to keep this game pretty close for another 3 or 4 minutes. And if I had just stayed alive and waited, I would have been able to actually take out a couple of their tanks and maybe take out Artie, and maybe we could have won the game. But unfortunately, because of my misplay here, we definitely lost the game. So, yeah, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. You have some good games, you have some bad games, and in the end, you just try and do your best. So, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this play session. I know that this video was really long, and it probably not everybody likes this kind of content. Give me your feedback in the comments, what you think. But I thought it might be interesting just to experiment and do something a little different today. So I wish you guys the best out there. Happy hunting and take care.